Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games. I am a tabletop game designer who loves competition reality shows. And so I have a few different videos about those types of shows, including today's video, which is Got to Get Out. I'm going to talk about 7 elements of Got to Get Out that I think are interesting game design decisions made by the show. So the premise of the show of Got to Get Out is that around 20 contestants are locked in a house. They're not really locked in. I'm sure they could actually get out, but they're locked in this big mansion. And the object of the game is for them to get out of the mansion, which is more difficult than you might think, because all the exits to the house are locked, and you can only exit the house through certain doors and windows that have a red keypad on them that occasionally lights up in green. And so the core of the show is that every now and then contestants will be told when a specific lock will be unlocked for a short period of time. And if they are able to get out that window and get down a very long driveway through a gate and into I think it's a Rolls Royce, it's a very nice car, then they get the amount of money that has been generated by the show so far. Not generated by the show, but shown by the TV show so far. Because there is no clock in the house. Rather, there is a monetary value that is second by second ticking upwards. So right now we just finished the 3rd episode, and around the 3rd episode, the money is around $250,000. But every second that passes, that money goes up higher and higher. I'll delve deeper into the different mechanisms of the show as I talk about it. Let's start out with number 7. The number 7 element I wanted to talk about is that, unlike most shows in this genre, there is no built-in elimination per episode. Like, the vast majority of reality shows are built around the idea that at the end of the episode, someone is removed from the show. In this show, presumably, it would be that someone escapes. But episode by episode, even though people try to escape, doesn't mean they necessarily do. In fact, it's fairly difficult to escape from this house, at least early on in the season. And so I thought this was a really interesting structure, that there's no elimination. There's no default built-in elimination. And that also, by removing that element, that isn't the core hook of the show. In most other shows like this, you are kind of waiting to see, who is going to get removed from this show, this island, this house at the end of the episode. And so I thought it was kind of a bold move for this show to say, we're going to try to do something a little bit different, where it is possible for people to leave the show, but it will not be the core hook of every episode. So that's number 7. I thought that was an interesting game design decision for the show. Number 6 is the use of money as a timer. I think this is really, really interesting. It's maybe slightly interesting that the contestants don't have their watches or their phones. They don't know what time it is at any given time, and so they have an odd sense of time. But more interesting to me is the idea that the longer the contestants wait to escape, the more money they might win. But if someone escapes, that money, I believe, is going to reset to 0. And the show will continue. They're in this house for 10 days. So I thought this was really interesting, and people have talked about this on the show so far. There are people who have said, I don't really want to escape at $100,000, especially if maybe I have to split it with someone else who I'm also trying to escape with. I have student loans that I need to pay off, and so I need to wait until it's at $200,000 or $300,000. It can go up to $1 million. And so I really like that there is this real world connection to the money. Obviously, any of those amounts of money that I just said are a lot of money, but if you do have a house to pay off or student loans to pay off, there might be actually a specific amount of money that you are willing to do something to make a big move for. And this show plays into that. It gives contestants a reason to wait until the money is right for them, especially if they are teaming up with other people to try to escape this house. And I'll talk about that in number 5, because, as I just alluded to, the money can be split. If you and I team up to escape the house at $200,000 and I manage to get out, then I can decide upon getting out to split that money with you. I can promise you to do that, but I can also decide once I actually get out to not actually do it. And so you are having to, there's a strong element of trust in this show. And in a lot of shows like this, again, the contestants aren't allowed to split the money, or they aren't supposed to split the money. And so I like that the show makes it part of the rule that you can split the money, but you are not guaranteed a split if you make a promise with someone who goes back on that promise. So I think this becomes really important for a reason that I'll talk about in a few other points, because escaping this house is very difficult for a reason that I'll discuss, and teaming up, I think, might become crucial to having players actually escape. Along with that, any player who is remaining at the end of the game gets to split the money, or will split the money with all other remaining players. So if all these people just sat in this house for 10 days, they would each get $50,000, which again is a lot of money, but people want more than that. And so if they can escape for $200,000, $300,000, they might go for that. But if everyone just sits there, they'll just split the money at the end of the show. So I think that is an interesting hook that there are reasons to team up with other players to split that money. But also, if you just do nothing and prevent other people from escaping, then everyone's going to walk away with $50,000. Point number 4 is, and this is, I thought, was a really interesting design decision, because they probably had to scout a lot of different locations for this show. They picked a mansion that has a very long driveway, and they made the racing element of the game. It's essentially a racing game where once you get out of the house, you need to get all the way to the end of the driveway. You can't just get out of the house. You have to get out of the property, and they designated a specific spot to determine what that meant to be out of the property. And I'm guessing they also chose this mansion so that for you to get down this long driveway, there aren't that many places to hide as you run down. Like, you can kind of run along some bushes, some trees, but there's a increasingly narrow path for you to get out of the gate itself. Also, crucially, the gate is far away enough that it can open without people in the house seeing it or hearing it. Because if they do, there's a buzzer they can push to close the gate. So at any given time, when one of those windows unlocks, the gate also opens at that same time, that they open simultaneously. And so just the spatial design of this set, essentially, even though it's at someone's house, someone's vacation home, maybe, is really well done. Long driveway, because it takes you a while to get from the house to the driveway itself. You can't see the gate or hear the gate unlock. And there aren't too many places to hide on your way to the actual gate. Thought that was very interesting. That distance actually does matter for the show for reasons that I'll talk about in point number 3, which is that there are 3 different, really almost 4, but 3 different core areas that matter when someone is trying to escape. One is the exit itself, the window, the door, and as I just said, the gate to actually run out of the property. 2 is the watchtower. There is, on the top of the house, a place where contestants can go and hang out if they want at any time, and they can watch people who are running out of the house. There are other places that you can do this in the house. You can just sit in front of a window in front of the house and see if someone's running out, but your vantage isn't great. But from the top of the building, you can see pretty far, and you can see if someone is running out of the building. And 3, there is a buzzer in a central, I believe it's the central portion of the house, where if you hit that buzzer, if the gate is open at that time, the gate will close. This is why it's important for the gate not to make a sound when it opens, or that you can't see it from the watchtower when it opens, because otherwise someone would just hit that button right away, even if someone isn't trying to escape. So I think these elements are elements of the show that I think are interesting in terms of the teamwork, because if you can manage to have someone on the watchtower who's on your team, if you can have someone at the buzzer who's on your team, and you manage to get out of the house and you hold that trust and you split the money with all 3 of those people, you could get out of the house. The part that I'm struggling with a little bit 3 episodes in is it really does seem incredibly difficult to get out of the house with those 3 elements in play, because multiple people now are hanging out of the watchtower at all times. Multiple people are at the window, and multiple people are at that buzzer. So it seems rather difficult for someone to get out of the house with all of those elements in play. I'm guessing it will be done by the end of the show. I don't think they'll end the show with no one having escaped, but I think it's good that they built in those 3 different elements. They spaced them apart from one another. But I am kind of impressed and curious about how difficult they made it to get out as a result of those 3 different elements. And number 2, I have that the producers of the show control the exits. You can only escape from the house from these specific windows and doors that have the locks on them, but they don't control the method that you escape. And actually, that isn't entirely true, because in the first episode, if you wanted to escape, you had to get into a car parked in front of the lot and use that car to get out of the house. I thought this was interesting because I think they did it because the cars are fast. You can drive down the driveway to get out of the gate faster than you can run. So they were kind of showing to the contestants just how long this driveway is, but they were also saying you have to get into this car to get out, rather than trying to sneak out or run out, which I think is less visible, obviously, than a big red car zooming down the driveway. But overall, as I've watched 3 episodes into the show, I think it is a really good decision. The producers in general are saying that you can get out however you want, but your method of sneaking out and running out are up to you. And I don't want to spoil anything with the show, but contestants have started to get creative in terms of how they actually try to go from that window exit to the gate. And I think that creativity, I hope that creativity continues in the show, because I think having the producers control this one element, but giving creative freedom to the contestants for the other element, of how they get from the window to the actual front gate, I think is a really good choice for the show. I think giving players some of that creativity is really smart. And number one, the number one thing that I think is a really interesting game design about Got to Get Out is that multiple players can win. In most shows like this, and I'm not just talking about splitting the money, that is part of it, but going back to point number 7, where it is not an elimination-based show, if in the first episode someone escaped and made $100,000, the money resets, but it still then starts ticking back up to presumably up to $900,000, because they're giving away maybe a total of $1 million. But I think this is really cool. Like, you're not just waiting for the final episode to see who wins. Every episode, there could be a winner of the show. I think this is great for entertainment, but also really interesting game design, that more than one player can win based on what they determine to be a win for them. A win for someone who has $300,000 in student loans. Getting out at $50,000 split with someone else might not feel like a huge win, but to someone else, that might be a huge win. $50,000. Even just waiting to the end of the game could be a win for any number of players. So I really like that that it is possible for multiple people to win this game on their own terms, and that every single episode there could potentially be a winner. There isn't even a direct correlation to this for a tabletop game, other than maybe a campaign game where you can win an individual session of that campaign game, but not win the overall campaign. But yeah, I think that's just a really interesting mechanism in a reality competition show, that multiple people can win the game, and that the audience isn't just waiting for that final episode to see who wins. They are hooked on every episode to see if someone will win. It's really the opposite of point number 7. Instead of waiting for the end of the episode to see who loses, you are waiting for the end of the episode, or as it's edited, the beginning of the next episode. They did that little editing thing where they give you a cliffhanger and you get to wait till the next episode, the beginning of the next episode, to see if they actually got out. I don't know if I love that, especially for a show that I'm streaming, and you could just watch the beginning of the next episode anyway. But there's the idea of waiting. Instead of waiting to see who will lose that episode, you are waiting to see who might win that episode. That is really cool, and I'd love to see that in more reality competition shows. Those are my thoughts about the game design and the entertainment value of Got to Get Out. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the show, and if you think what you think might change or evolve for the show if they do a second season. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And please avoid spoilers about the show for now, or mark it with spoilers, because I'm still watching it right now. It might be a week or so before I finish the show. Thanks.